Welcome, John Hill, to the Mother God Intergalactic Podcast.
Thank you for allowing me to move here to your home. I brought my kids with me. I actually left the other kids at home. I abandoned them all just to come and serve you, to make you chicken parm,
Thank
and
you.
to bring you
Thank you.
drinks in bed, and to roll joints for you,
Thank
and
you.
to celebrate your omnipotence.
Listen, I was like 5 minutes before this was about to start. I was like, oh my God, I got to put on a costume. Sadly, this is all my own jewelry, not normally worn as a headpiece, but this
I
is, in
love
fact,
it.
my magic robe that I talk about all the time. So, Mother God was onto something.
Comfort.
Comfort. She wanted to be comfortable. She wanted people to bring her chicken parm because that's what the Galactics told her. Robin said chicken parm and don't bring me any fucking chicken Alfredo.
Yeah, and make it right. Make it the way I want. And don't and maybe a quesadilla on the side.
It's a side of quesadilla is
Yeah.
always good. I forgot about that. What do you think Robin Williams, may his soul rest in peace, one of our greatest actors and comedians of our time,
Mm.
what do you think his family makes of these people using his name over and over like Robin said, Robin said?
That is such a
So
great question. I hadn't even thought about that. I have to I hope that they are spared from it, to be honest. I hope they are in peace. I hope that they are in a bubble of you know, grieving and peace and harmony, and I hope they are not reliving. I mean, it's trauma upon trauma, this whole show, the
yeah,
whole situation. Even her
yeah.
mood board of Robin and the other Galactics, including Michael Jackson
Mhm.
and other celebrities. Even just seeing that mood board was traumatic.
What about Donald Trump being on the mood board and he's alive? Everybody else was dead, just he was alive.
That is true. Well, maybe he is a super galactic and he can be. Well, maybe let's start a conspiracy that he isn't alive
Oh, he's a
and that he's.
shapeshifter. He's a reptilian.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he's both.
Mm.
He's hybrid.
Well, I'm going to base this episode that we're doing on this Vanity Fair article that was by Amy Borden that came out earlier this year, and then of course this documentary that we're talking about, directed by Hannah Olsen. Love Has Won: The Cult of Mother God. Now, did you know about this before the documentary came out? Were you familiar with this particular cult?
Yes. And I specifically remember when I was working at Watch What Happens Live, every night, you write the script. I was a writer at Watch What Happens Live for 4 years, and you write the script that day. You alternate with someone, and when it's your day, you kind of still go in. And around 9 p.m. or in those days, around 9 p.m. when the show, you're kind of waiting for it to start. And the last minute, it's like, hey, what else could we swap in for a more current Mazel or Jack hole? And so you're
Ah,
always scouring the internet. And so we would just sit there and scour and scour and scour. And so any sort of weird cult or anything like that would come across my desk. And I remember watching the live streams, not religiously, no pun intended, but I would watch and I would say, wow, here is a person. So I was aware of it. I watched some of the live streams and I noticed how belligerent she was. And I noticed, and then I kind of forgot about it when she passed. Spoiler alert.
mhm.
The colloidal silver also came to mind because I had taken colloidal silver on Broadway as a singer. Colloidal silver is like something, if you don't want to always be taking antibiotics, you're crammed in a theater together, you're singing,
Yeah,
and you get, it's like a petri dish. You're always getting
yeah.
sinus infections, and you have to sing 8 shows a week. So colloidal silver is one of those things where it's like, well, take this, but it was always told like sparingly. Um,
You could
and
buy this. You could buy it at your local
you can buy it
pharmacy.
now. Yeah, you can buy it.
Really?
You can buy it anywhere at a health food store. Do you know about
Okay.
colloidal silver? Do you know why we take it?
I just know about the man that was blue on Oprah,
Right.
that guy, and it's just from what I've heard from just people talking about this, you take it because it's a catch-all cure for, I don't know, what?
Okay,
COVID? They said COVID. They cured COVID with it.
of course, let me tell you the scientific or parascientific theory behind colloidal silver.
Okay.
Um, it is a holistic remedy. It is not without merit. Like it could be useful in time. And basically, silver is an antibacterial agent, the metal silver, which back in the day before refrigerators and things like that, people would put a silver dollar in milk so it wouldn't spoil. It keeps bacteria away. So
Oh,
silver is a natural deterrent from bacteria, things like that. So but
okay.
the problem is you can't, it is impossible to regulate. I'm not a scientist, but forgive me, but this is what my understanding. It's impossible to like dose as we see. You like a little bit might help, but if things get bad, you go to a doctor. It's kind of like add it to your magnesium and your vitamins. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
to replace penicillin or something.
Yeah,
But,
right.
health nuts have always liked it because in theory, it could maybe prevent if you're going to get 3 colds a year, maybe you just get 2. Like it's a little extra
Okay.
zhuzh in your toolbox. It is not to be, but the reason the FDA said limits it is because you of course can turn blue, as we've seen.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem. Um, okay, so oh my God. So on April 28th of 2021, the mummified corpse of Amy Carlson was discovered in the Mission House near Crestone. Its state of decay suggested she'd been dead for several weeks. I believe she was last seen alive by somebody on the 21st, they said, or so they thought that she was alive when they saw her on the 21st. And then on the 28th is when she was found. But I think probably when the person saw her on the 21st, she was dead and they were just wheeling her around,
Right.
Weekend at Bernie style. So she was 45 when she died. Her body was found wrapped in a sleeping bag with Christmas lights, face covered in glitter. The eyes were missing. A makeshift shrine. 7 members of the group were charged with abuse of a corpse, as well as all sorts of abuse of the corpse things, and then also like taking a body across state, and then child abuse because there were 2 children there, a 13-year-old that was the daughter of Aaron, who we meet later, and then the 2-year-old, which was Miguel's child. We don't know who the mother of Miguel's child is, nor do we know where Miguel is today with all that money.
Mm. Yeah, he
Literally,
and
I couldn't find anything about it.
he didn't participate in the documentary either, they said. He didn't respond.
No, because I don't think they can find him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I looked and looked and looked, and there's no word on what's happening with Miguel
If
these
I were
days.
Miguel, I would be at Sandals. I would
That's
be on a
specific.
beach. I would be uh, I would be escaping the country and counting the money and trying to never
Yes.
hear any of this
Yes.
again.
Yes, I agree. I'm trying to move my screen over so I can just make sure that my, thing is staying right here in my third
Your
eye so I
jewels
can
are
stay.
correct. They are
Okay,
serving.
I wanna be, focused with my third eye
Mhm.
here. So, did you think that her stuff she would literally just got necklaces and tied them around her head. It would be the biggest s Countess Luann's statement thing you've ever seen, like,
Yes.
hanging I was like, "Why isn't she cross-eyed at this point?" Like, ugh, you know? It's, like,
Well,
wild.
and I say this with sensitivity, Mary Payne. She was drunk.
A lot.
The yeah,
A lot, yeah.
that was someone who drank themselves to death.
Yeah, for
That's really
sure.
what the story is about, and it is so tragic to see. That was alcoholism and drug abuse beyond, and then just a bunch of enablers. I think they were all
Yes.
trying to really find meaning, but really, that's that was the saddest part. She was just completely fucked up the
Yeah.
entire time.
Yes, yes. So, I will tell you what's going on now. So after, she ascended and she was gone, the website Love Has Won was taken offline, but they renamed everything, and now it's called 5D Full Disclosure, and, they're 5D Full Disclosure, and Father God now, of course, has a separate group called Joy Reigns, which, FM, Father God Multiverse, went over there with him. Um, in the documentary, you know, she they show us that in 2007 she was kind of on a journey and started looking at stuff on the internet trying to figure out her path in life, and decided she was going to go with this intergalactic group and leave her family and her 3 children to
Mhm.
go be with this guy who was Father God. Amerith was his name, but then she actually decided she was more God than he was, so she went on her own. She was like, Beyonce, leave me Destiny's Child. She was
Yeah.
like, nope, I've got bigger things. What did you think about when you first saw this guy? When you first saw Amerith, whatever the hell his name was?
Um, gosh, what did I think? St- too much shrooms.
Oh, I was like, it's a full meth situation with this guy.
Yeah, like, it was a perfect storm of this. Yeah, I think she wanted to find someone who would enable her to be high 24/7 and
Yeah,
never have to have any sort of responsibilities in life, including caring for your children or having a job. And her mom even says when she discovered ecstasy, something changed. And I think that's when, like, I'm sober. I get it. When you're in that phase, you're like, oh, I only want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want any
yeah, yeah,
responsibilities. So, like,
yeah,
I see it. It's like she was like, no, no, no. Oh, I have 3 kids. No, thanks. I want to go live in a tent with this guy and say I'm God. Why not?
yeah.
So
Why not?
he was a perfect. It was a perfect escape for someone who didn't want to live in reality.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's Hannah Olsen that did the film, right? So Hannah Olsen says that she's saying in this article, she says reality doesn't make sense for a lot of people because the income inequality, and she's talking about a lot of the people that came to Mother God came because they maybe had addiction or the healthcare system had failed them and they were looking for like a way to heal themselves that wasn't within like the insurance system,
Yeah.
which is sort of like a thing you didn't think was everybody's coming broken, right?
Yeah.
Um, and she says, this girl, Olson, who's a millennial, says, my generation has not inherited the world we were promised. And cult studies suggest that when your predicted triumphs fail, people
Mm.
shift their realities to match their belief instead of the
Wow.
other way around. So you shift your reality to match what your belief is. It's just sort of like I can make anything work in my mind. And you see it with all these followers. Everything that's happening that's getting worse and worse and worse. They're like, well, that's just Robin calling from the intergalactic. So,
Right.
mom said she wanted to go to a 3D hospital, but we said no.
Well, in a
Like
scary way, I hate saying this, but like we kind of all do that, don't we?
if you want, yeah, to make it right in your mind of
But
whatever you believe. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think you try to hold yourself accountable to make sure you're believing the right things and not going absolutely crazy. And that's why you have good friends and family. You keep good people around to
Yes.
keep you in check. But like, I think the human survival method is like adapt. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, it's so scary.
Um, So another these are just some things I'm getting from this article that doomsday thinking increases during crisis, like societal shifts such as COVID, economic strife, and one person discusses the trauma they had following the mortgage crisis, and they said Amy's ideology empowered people to believe that they could heal themselves. Now we only see this kind of core group of 12 to 20 people on the show,
Hmm.
but in reality they had like 1.5 million people watching them. One of them was John Hill from the Watch What Happens Live studios.
Right. Well, they were
You
in
know?
Vulture. Yeah, I think people were posting about them. They were like, "Hey, there's this crazy," because they just seemed kooky. They were doing tarot card readings. They were selling juice. They were selling
Yeah,
vitamins, selling colloidal silver. So it seemed just kind of funny. And they were young and cute. They seemed, yeah. And Amy
yeah,
was very beautiful back in the day. She was very
yeah, totally.
telegenic, and she could, she just bullshitted
Yeah,
confidently. That's what all these people do. They just kind of vamp confidently.
it's just like word salad. Like you don't even know what some of these words mean, but they're putting them all together, and you're like, well, that
Even
sounds smart.
even Teal Swan. I mean,
Oh, Teal Swan.
yeah.
What she says is most of the time I'm like, well, that makes sense. Do I believe in Teal Swan?
Right. Right. And she's so confident and she makes good points. That's the other thing scary. I mean, Teal will make some good points. Amy was just kind of, drunk and batshit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, all doomsday groups are I'm going to say this wrong. I'm trying to say it right. This is one of these words I can never go. It's like an autocracy, like a democracy.
Autocracy. Yeah.
Autocracy. Thank you. I knew
Yeah.
I was like, I'm putting the syllable in the wrong word. I'm putting the syllable the
Uh,
wrong way. So it's a kind of escape. And so when you see cults, it's because people join cults, it's because your own reality feels out of control. But then when you join a cult, you're told your reality and you relinquish all control. And
right.
so it's like with this group, the filmmaker says you couldn't tell who was steering the ship here because the followers did end up kind of taking over, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden they could talk to Robin. All of a
Right.
sudden they were talking to Robin. Robin was telling the followers, "Now we need to go to California. Now do they just want to go on a vacation to Hawaii?" Like Amy wasn't saying Robin told her this. They were saying it and they would go. It was wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think sometimes she didn't know where she was
No,
toward the
no.
end there.
And so I'll tell you something interesting, and I've said this before on the podcast. So my husband is a sober person as well, and going on we're 9 years now, and it's interesting about the paralysis from alcoholism, the nerve damage she had, because they think that's why all of a sudden, like from the waist down, she couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I know from my experience with my husband and other people I know that have been through addiction, you do get like numb feet and things
Yeah.
like that because you start to get, because like a therapist told me one time, you're literally poisoning your body from the inside out. So if you have a hangnail, it's never going to cure. If you have
Mhm.
a zit on your face, it's never going to clean up because your body's being poisoned from the inside out. You don't have a way to heal yourself. Normally, a zit would clear, a hangnail would clear. So with this, she's so sick, and so she's got all this nerve damage from the drinking. And what they're doing is pouring silver down her throat, seeing that it's obviously not working,
Right.
but they're continuing to do it. And she has the anorexia on top of that.
I feel so sad for her. It was really rough to watch someone deteriorate like that, and just um they just kept going. And silver is a heavy metal. It is toxic for you. A little bit can maybe keep some bacteria away, like I said, but like it is not something you should ever be drinking on a daily basis. And then, they would say she uses alcohol, which I've heard that too. Some people, these are all natural things for, humans to use, but drinking vodka all day, and not eating is just not healthy. So it doesn't matter if you're a spiritual teacher, or even if you are God in a human body, it's probably not
It's still going to kill God in
help.
the human
It's
body.
not helping you vibrate at your highest.
When they were showing her and Jason, Father God number three, the final Father God, drinking stuff, my daughter was watching it with me. She's 20. And she goes, "Oh, well, at least they're drinking water." I go, "No, no, I think that's straight vodka. It's
And
clear. I think it's just straight vodka."
yes, it was alcohol, and sometimes there was like wine, just like white wine all day. I noticed a lot of just like daytime white
Yeah.
wine.
Well, the follower said from morning until evening, they were just drugs all day. And then there are
Yeah.
these kids running around,
Yeah.
and you're just like, what the fuck? So, and I do wonder what happened to Aaron's other kids, because Aaron came in with 3 kids, and then when they all found Amy in the shrine, only her one of her kids was there.
What happened to her eyes?
Amy's eyes, I think that what
I
I
didn't know
read
that
in
till
the
you said it.
she had no eyes when they
Oh
found
my
her, and
god.
her face was painted with glitter, and so initially, I looked at the police report, and the initial police report said that she appeared to be painted and covered in glitter, but what they realized later, she wasn't painted, she was just blue.
She blew. Yeah.
She was just blue, but they had covered her in glitter, but they said the reason her eyes were gone was just decomposition.
I mean, I don't want to be unsympathetic or insensitive to this horrific experience that happened to these people, but I just have to say, like, Father God, he went away. He took a few months away for meth, and then he came back, and there was so much dysfunction going on. But like the psychosis that happens, I have a friend who was one of the most amazing composers, extremely successful. He was on a TV show, really successful, very like popular, and he had a later in life weed triggered psychosis, which triggered latent congenital schizophrenia from too
Oh
much
my
weed
god.
smoking, and is now on the streets. We can't find, I mean, like it can, and that's just weed. He was never a drug person, um
Yeah.
so I think like if you're hallucinating and you're smoking that much weed, and I'm a former stoner, I used to smoke weed all day long, all night long. I just And I think it's so healthy for some people. Smoke all you want. Literally, go
Mhm.
for it. But
Yeah,
in a collective, all day long, shrooms, weed, meth, ecstasy, alcohol all day. I
and
just,
drinking, yeah.
you know, uh, and also being in a group hysteria that is saying, "Oh, her body's falling apart. That must mean her spirit is so elevated. She's so spiritual. Her she can't. Nobody can contain her." Like you were saying, that is confirmation of a crazy belief. rearranging your beliefs to match your reality or whatever.
Yeah,
That
yeah, 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 yeah.
I can kind of see how they would say, okay, we need to bring her dead body back to Colorado and
Because it was
maybe,
near that was near Mount Shasta where
yeah.
a lot of aliens come in.
Hmm. I love
Um,
that mayor or the town mayor of the Colorado town who was like explaining why people flock to that city.
yeah. Yeah, and it seems like everybody if you're just a bunch of, hippies hanging around wanting to be
Go for
great,
it. Yeah.
live your life. It's a beautiful view, and if you're not hurting anybody, he's like, everybody here is pretty peaceful and chill. And then every so often, you will get a cult will come in because they want to be closer to the mountain where they're going to be lifted up. And the spaceships that they kept showing us, I was like, now we are looking at clouds,
Girl, those are
but
clouds.
but were they seeing little spaceships, or were they really thinking the clouds were the spaceships? Or were there something else there that we just weren't seeing because like the camera couldn't catch it because we're not elevated
No.
enough? Like, I don't know.
I think we were not shrooming and we were not on weed and
We're
we
just
were
looking at the
not.
clouds.
I think there were clouds, and I think when you're in that, when you're seeing shit, you're seeing shit. And I don't think it
And
was maybe,
everybody sees it together.
and hey, maybe
Yeah,
they were. Maybe we're just not. But I don't as we see, a spaceship did not come down that we
I
saw, at
know.
least. Maybe it did. Maybe the joke's on us.
I mean, I don't know if she ever when they found her, she was 75 pounds. And her max weight that she was allowed to get to was 103.1 because anything over 103.1, Robin said was too much and the spaceship would not pick her up.
Oh my God.
103.1, which is really very, very tiny.
I have to say, if a spaceship can figure out, if there's the technology of an alien to figure out a way to get its spaceship here, they can probably handle 103.2, or some fluctuation in weight.
I don't know how Robin Williams became an expert on
Mhm.
the weight limit on a spaceship, but he did. And again, I really almost the whole time was thinking about his family
Mm.
because when so you were saying you came to this like actually watching Hope and Aurora on their lives, but I came to it by the Dateline episode. The Dateline
Mm.
episode was like a 2 hour Dateline. I listened to my friends Kimberly and Katie who have the great podcast A Date with Dateline about it.
Mhm.
And then I read an article or two here or there, but I really hadn't thought about it, in a year or so since it was on.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, you got to watch this documentary." I was like, "I think I already know about it from Dateline," but no, 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 no. I
Right.
read more articles. I mean, if you just sort of like, there's a Wikipedia about it, and then that links to all the articles, and then I was just like, this rabbit hole, this rabbit hole, this rabbit hole, and then I decided to put on a costume. So, um, the players here. So we've got First Father God, who is Amarith White Eagle, probably not
Mhm.
his government name. Um,
He
he
looked
looks
more like a
like Methy Santa.
Bruce or a
Yeah,
Santa. Santa.
he did look
Yeah.
like a Bruce.
Hmm.
Then second father God was Andrew. So he's the one that left. He came in and initially got all that tech set up.
Yeah.
And he was a person that had an opioid addiction and was sort of looking for something to help him when the healthcare system really had failed him.
Nice guy.
Totally normal. By the way, he never got a name. She never gave him a name. He was always just Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the interview I listened to, which I believe was the Vanity Fair writer on Kate Casey's podcast, uh, that the writer said that Andrew and Amy at one point early on, because he was the first one in,
Yeah.
they did leave for a few months together and sort of ran it from far away. And he was the one that was telling her, like, you're really not God. I need you to be able to admit you're not God, and
Oh.
he got her to admit it and stuff, but then she would get sucked back in because like Miguel was the first follower, the one that ran off with the money. He was like, I don't know why you're letting this guy tell you you're not God. And maybe Miguel was jealous because he was never Father God. He
Oh
was like the
my.
CFO. So then we have the third Father God, John. Now, by the way, did you notice all these people always had a really sunburned nose? Everybody's nose is always just baked to a crisp.
Well, I would also point to the alcoholism because sometimes
Yeah,
I can see, when people are really deep into it, their
that's true.
extremities get a little crusty. Yeah.
Okay, that's true too. All these people seem to have like a red nose. So then we get the fourth and final father god, which was Jason, who's the scariest person alive. And When he came in, John was confused because he had been given the name Father God, but she said, that's okay because now you're Father Multiverse,
Yeah.
s- hence 4-2 known as FM.
Mhm.
And then Jason is Father God. Now,
FM seemed
Jason
like a very nice guy too.
totally seemed nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's still in it
Mhm. I
with
can't believe that.
Miguel. I
Just
mean, with Jason. Yeah.
are they not? Why are they not in jail again? Remind me.
Okay. So the people that were arrested. So, all right. So,
Not to
okay, let's
sidetrack
go.
you.
No, no, no. Yeah, I just want to go through all the
Okay.
players and then I'll talk about who
Okay.
was arrested. Okay. So we've got John, which was FM, and then we've got Jason, Father God. Then we have Miguel, who was the manager of logistics and things, the money. And Miguel was smart enough to put everything in his name. So when she did die, everything was in his name. So actually, it is his money,
That's what
technically.
I was gonna say. It's like kind of like con artists out conning each other. I don't. It's not like she worked. Well, I don't want to be rude, but it's not like she built a valid business and then it was stolen from her. I mean, they all
Right.
collectively like took a dump.
Yeah. 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 So then we have Hope. So she's the one that you would see on the lives. Hope and Aurora. Hope had the brown hair. Her mom, Linda, was featured. Hope's real name is Ashley. And then Aurora, I don't know her real name. She was the blonde haired girl that had one of the best lines when they had to take Mother and put her in a tent to go camping. Her main concern was she was like, look, I'm from South Florida and I don't camp. And
Yeah.
so that was almost what broke her, the
Yeah.
camping. Not
Yeah.
the cult, the camping. She was like, I didn't want to. We camped for like 2 weeks. She was like, I mean,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Yeah.
I couldn't believe they camped for 2 weeks and they had no like toilet,
No,
just pooping in the woods.
that's because they were waiting for the pickup.
Yep.
But
And they
then
had
Mother
a
God didn't
dead ass
die.
body. Or no, I guess that was
Well, they
before.
went camping first, and then she didn't die.
Yeah.
And then they camped again after she did die when they were coming from like California to Colorado or whatever. So Hope and Aurora were the two that were out there, selling it to the people. And then we have Faith, the blonde lady who may have been Australian. I can't remember, but she was the healer.
Yeah, it seemed a little British.
Yeah, British
Mhm.
something. She was a healer. And then we had El Moira, and that's Ryan. El Moira also had a real crusty nose.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And then we
Okay.
had Mother Mary, who was the old lady.
I know. It's like, where's Mary's family?
Then we had Aaron, who's the one that joined the cult with the kids. Then we
That made
had
me sad.
Commander Buddha. Commander Buddha was the one person of color, really, besides Miguel, I guess.
And Commander Buddha
Um,
in the documentary seemed very still much into it.
yeah, he and Mother Mary now are just roommates. They love each
Crazy.
other.
Yeah.
And then we have Sarah, who's that former member who came into it like very sickly, and then and then she ended up leaving. So the people that were arrested were Ryan Kramer, which is El Moira, Christopher Royer, who I don't know who that is. I don't know who is Christopher. Sarah Rudolph. Okay, so Sarah was the former member. So she
Hmm.
got arrested and then she left. Karen, the one with the three kids. Jason, Father God number three. John, Father God number two. And Obdulia Franco, who I don't know who that is, but it was her car that they were arrested in. So those are the people that were
Oh.
arrested for tampering with a corpse, abuse of a corpse, child abuse, transferring a corpse across state lines, all these things. When they dropped all the charges against him, I believe it was just because they couldn't really point to who transferred the body,
Hmm.
who wrapped the body in the Christmas. Like they couldn't point to who did what. So they were just like, forget it. Forget it.
Damn. But what?
That's why all the charges were dropped.
So the charges were officially dropped, and they're just okay. I mean, I guess there's a coroner's report who said she died of anorexia,
Uh-huh.
alcoholism, liver
And the
failure or
silver.
whatever, silver.
Hmm.
And so I guess that's if there was a murder or foul play or injury, then it would seem like we need to investigate. But they were like, well, she died of technically natural causes, which is so messed up. Because I would say it's neglect as well. You would think that the authorities would say, who let her starve, who didn't take her
Right.
to a hospital, who was, but I guess they didn't have a power of attorney. It's just kind of, it doesn't seem like it's that complicated. It's like you're all caring for someone, and I would even say preventing her from going to get medical attention, but they kept saying don't go to a hospital, don't go to a hospital. But it's like, if I ever, just on the record with you, Mary Payne, if
Okay.
I ever am
Okay.
in a cult and I say don't take me to a hospital, take me anyway. Okay?
Okay. I will.
I'm
I
saying
will.
that
And say
publicly.
yes. Yeah, I've said publicly as well, if I'm in a coma, do not let my husband pull the plug because I think something will come along to revive me. So I would like to Terry Schiavo, I'd like to be alive for 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, don't pull the plug on me. I want my kids to come and visit me and like fix my hair. I don't want anybody because what if the next week there's like a cure and then you pull the plug on me?
I think it
That
depends. Yeah. Okay. No, I love that take. I think for me, it would depend on what I'm in the coma from and what my current physical state is. Like, if I look good, maybe keep me alive a little bit longer. But
right.
if I've been in
Right.
some horrible crash and I am disfigured, knock on wood, you can go ahead and yank it.
So for you, it's more about keeping your looks intact.
Well, who? I mean, I don't have kids who are going to come do my makeup and hair. I have my dog. Keep me along as alive as long as my dog's alive, and then when he goes, just bury us together.
Oh no. Is Pete around somewhere?
He is squatting and rubbing his butt on the carpet as I'm speaking.
Don't don't you love that? We just got our whole I say basement and then people think of like a basement, but it's like the lower level, right?
Hmm.
Of our house recarpeted. It looks so great. It's this fabulous like herringbone carpet.
Oh.
And the first thing the dog did is like, oh yeah, this is a great place to rub my ass. I'm like,
I wonder what it feels like. I've never experienced that.
just right up in the butthole,
It
just a
must
hard carpet right up in
it
the butt.
must must be
It
very satisfying and
it must
scratching
really
that
feel like
itch.
a real good itch. Yeah. Okay, so let's okay, all right. So I want to talk about what their beliefs are. Okay.
Hmm.
So the group believed that Carlson was a divine 19 billion year old being who had birthed all of creation. She said she had been reincarnated 534 times, including Jesus, Joan of Arc, Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra, and she would be the one to lead the 144,000 into the fifth dimension. Yeah, so
Oh,
144,000 always plays a part in the cults, always.
what is that
Ex-
number?
So somewhere, people correct me if I'm wrong, I believe somewhere in the Old Testament,
Hmm.
it says when the rapture comes, it'll only be 144,000 that will be saved.
Oh, well, then that would be in Revelation because Old Testament doesn't do the rapture. That is a new Christ. That is a Christian nouveau moment. That is a born again
Okay,
situation. That is a revelation.
Revelations. Okay.
Yeah, Old Testament yeah. New Testament is a little crazy. No offense, but yeah.
I thought Revelations was in the Old Testament. No.
No, Revelation's the last book of the Bible.
Oh. Okay. Don't tell don't tell my parents I didn't listen to Bible school or the camp I went to for 5 years. So, um, but the 144,000 is a
Yes.
thing, right?
Hmm.
So when you think of people like Kirk Cameron,
Yeah, yeah.
he's very into the 144,000. And
Got
when
you.
you
Now
think,
I'm back with you. Okay, got it.
okay, now you're with me. So when
Hmm.
you think of
It's Left
what's her nuts,
Behind. Left Behind.
it's what's her nuts is the lady, blonde haired. It's going to come to me in a second that killed her kids in Idaho, in Rexburg, Idaho. Um, Lori Vallow
Damn. Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
Chad
yeah.
Daybell.
Mhm.
They were very into the 144,000, and so she and her kids and Chad Daybell and everybody, they were all in the 144,000 until she realized, of course, her kids had turned into zombies and she had to kill them because they
Yes.
weren't going to be in the 144,000.
Mhm.
But you have to go to Rexburg, Idaho, to be in the 144,000, and that or Maui. So if you could just go to one of those two places, you're going to be good. You're going to be good.
Yeah.
So the 144,000. So Carlson she was into that.
Okay.
Mother God was into that as well. So um, they believed that the world was run by a cabal determined to keep the planet at a low vibrational state. That's another reason they wouldn't take her to the hospital, was because if she
Mm.
went to the hospital, somebody that worked at the hospital could like jump into her body and then
Yep.
take the world out of this high vibrational state that she was taking on. So if she went to the hospital, somebody there was going to jump into her body and ruin it all.
Oh, we wouldn't want that. Yeah.
No, and what ER worker would be the one? I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be some lady working her shift and be like, well, shit, now I got to take
Yeah.
over the world. Now I'm Mother God.
Right, right. And it reinforces the like we are on the outskirts. There is a it's very matrix. It's like we're on the outside, the world is not real, and if you go to the hospital, it's part of the system and it's part of the man, and we don't want a part of
Yes.
that. And yeah,
Yeah. And that's also part they were very into QAnon conspiracy theories. They routinely expressed speculation that COVID-19 was planned,
sure.
that was a conspiracy. They thought the Sandy Hook massacre, 9/11 Holocaust, everything is a hoax.
Uh-huh.
Um, they also said that what society has been taught about the Holocaust was suspicious. And Adolf Hitler, he was just trying to serve the light. Um, and they had a real problem with Jewish people and thought concentration camps were just to teach Jewish people how to work.
Oh.
They had a
This is
lot of
coming from
real
a group of people who do not have jobs, by the way.
that
everyone in the
well.
everyone in that cult.
And then another thing I heard on this interview that I think was the Kate Casey interview was that they were so into this idea of the colloidal silver. And then if they couldn't get the actual silver to melt down themselves to put in the bottles that they hand wrote and then sell, they would take apart like their lighters
Oh god, that's meth.
and then just pull the parts of the lighters apart and melt that and then put that in water and sell that as the colloidal silver.
That is meth behavior. Meth addicts will rewire the lighting in their apartment. They will take apart a circuit board and they will that is meth behavior. There was a meth encampment outside my building for a while, and they were just taking shit apart. They were taking shit apart and rebuilding them in other forms, just projects, just crazy mechanical wiring projects with no results. It was awful.
That is wild. Did you ever come home and be like, "Well, the power in my building is off because they've now gotten to
No, they would
the breaker
steal
box."
bikes and electronics from around the city, bring them home, bring them like to this curb. They're gone now, and then they would just take them all apart. Well, they always say you should even if you shred your bills and stuff. People who are on
Yeah.
meth will go and tape them all back together because they need a project to do, and that's why even
Oh,
shredding your bills is not good enough. I don't know what you're supposed to
not
do with them.
not
I
for
just
a
throw away my
determined
mail.
meth addict. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I throw my meth mail away unopened.
Whole, because why not?
Yeah,
They're gonna put it together anyway. You don't wanna give them more work.
yeah.
I mean, I only know about meth behavior from Breaking Bad, but it was a lot of digging up holes in the middle of the night because you've got to, you just have to dig those 12 holes or whatever. You have to.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, taking a lighter apart to melt the silver down into colloidal silver to sell on the internet, that is the best description of a meth situation I've ever heard.
Now, let's talk about Father God, the final Father God, Jason, and maybe the Joy Rains, Joyrains. So Rains, Joy
Okay.
Rains, Father God. Okay, so I told you before we got started, he reminds me of somebody that I knew in my life that may
Mhm.
or may not be leading a cult in Bali currently. Looks similar. The guy that I know doesn't have bad teeth like that because I would never. The bad teeth would be like, no. That's where I draw the line with the bad teeth. When he came on the screen and was literally like, "I'm here. I'm the devil. I killed her. I'm that guy." You were like, I think that was like the end of episode 2. We were like, "Oh, something wicked this way comes."
I think it's like the last shot of episode 1 even.
Okay.
Maybe 2.
So
But
scary.
yeah, he was really scary. He's very much evocative of I don't know, he's everything bad, and also no shirt in the motel, and the ponytail.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I've met that guy a million times, growing up in Texas.
Yeah. It's just sort of
Dangerous.
like, where did he come from? He was running, he was like the night manager at a Blockbuster in Vegas.
That would even seem
When
like too good of a job for him. I'm
and then
surprised.
he was some sort of felon because he had an ankle bracelet, an ankle monitor.
Wow, what a
He was on
romance.
tether, as we
A,
say on Love After Lockup.
a McDonald's manager and a Blockbuster manager form a cult. I mean, you couldn't really write that any better.
I think that should be your next screenplay.
It's
I mean,
amazing. And then she
what a
dies and he
musical that would be.
Oh, wow. There is plenty of things that would be a great musical in this story. The
Yeah.
production number of making the silver,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the
And I
production number of traveling her dead body,
you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that going across the stage and they have like a makeshift they're holding her up with like 4 sort of like a
Mm.
like pallbearers. They're holding her up in the air with these types of robes and things hanging down, and of
Kinda
course
like
the
the
Christmas lights.
yes, and like kinda like the Lion King, like maybe it's a puppet of sorts. Like
Yes,
it takes certain people to kind of make her float through the ether.
that's sort of what I'm thinking. And then the blueness of it all will have to be in Act
Oh
2.
god, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
color scheme would really, um, shine forth in the second act once she's blue. Yeah, the whole show gets more blue and blue by the end. The whole audience is covered in, like, blue paint splashed from the
and
ceiling.
I think that,
Immersive.
Father Father Multiverse is our protagonist, and then Father God,
Definitely.
number 3, is our antagonist.
Yes, for sure. I
Everything
will
gets
say
real dark when he comes in.
there is a faction of people that think that Father God is hot. Um,
I could see it. Well, as I said, I have someone in my life, former, that looked a lot like that except for good teeth,
except for the teeth. He is
and I
hot.
was
He
a
has, like, tanned, tight skin, he
yeah,
looks like, he was doing lots of push-ups.
mhm.
Um, he's a rough and tumble guy. He looks like he's like a definitely can get through jail in semi one piece, missing a few teeth, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
How old do you think he is, I wonder? Let's see if I've got that on here. Let's guess before I look.
I
Okay,
bet
I do
he's
have it, I'm not gonna look.
I bet he's 47.
Okay, he was born in 1975.
Oh my god, I'm right. So he's
Is that how old he
48.
is?
48.
Yeah.
I'm 77 and I'm 46. I bet he's 2 years older than me. Cuz he
Yeah, I would
looks good. He has the kinds of like genes that make you look cuz he doesn't have a lot of hair either. He's kind of like I don't know.
you mean, on his body, he didn't have a lot of hair.
Yeah, he's
On
not
his
like a
head, he had a lot of hair.
yeah, but he's not like a crazy bearded, people with like not a lot of hair can kind of look youthful for a long time.
Okay. You mean like a hairless body?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they could look real old and wrinkly. I mean, it could go both ways.
He's been out in the sun a lot, so he is
All of them have. That's hence
the
the
red
sunburned
nose.
noses. But I'm telling you about the red noses. If you ever go back and watch it, I want you to notice that their sunburn all starts like here. So it is like they're wearing sunglasses and then they just got
Yeah.
burned. Like they just
And they were sitting outside all day long drunk, like outside doing random chores. Yeah, they were
okay.
burnt.
And here's another question for you. That house that we saw, which was called the Mission, that was their home in Crestone. Let's just say there was 10 people that lived there, including children. Where the house seemed to be a hovel of one bedroom, and she seemed to have the bedroom. So were they all just on air mattresses?
Oh, I don't even think air mattress. I think like a towel if they're lucky. There was a few couches. They would just curl
Yeah.
up by the fire. They would just make little sleeping bag moments. Hell, my idea of hell.
Did
Hell.
you ever see one of the videos when you were watching it from Watch What Happens Live for content? Did you ever see one of the ones where Hope or Aurora came on and like, can you hear her in the background? She's so upset because she's taking on all of humanity and she's yelling, can you guys hear her? And everybody's in the background like terrified.
I saw one where I remember seeing one where she was on camera kind of leading the broadcast and she was literally verbally abusing someone and just snapping at them and wouldn't stop. And we were like, "Oh, she's just a drunk ass bitch and she's mean.
Yeah.
She's a mean ass drunk too. She's not
Yeah.
fun."
Yeah. And it was Andrew who said, the second father God, who said, what I quickly realized is she's drinking herself into a stupor every night. And like nobody here is doing anything about it.
The other
Like,
thing is
he
too,
seemed to be the one,
yeah, like
to wanna help.
when someone's that drunk and and no one is coming for you, yet you're fighting with them, that is when I'm out. Like everyone can get drunk and go crazy and that's fine. But like if you're drunk and no one is fighting with you, but you're still picking fights, that's when it gets really dark to me. And she was doing that.
Well,
No one was
it re
arguing with her and she was just berating them.
it reminds me a little bit of, Denise Richards on this past week's, Beverly Hills. Just what was happening there, John?
Well, I do think here, this is an interesting question about Beverly Hills. Like there's a couple of different accusations that are flying around. Uh, you know, Kyle's like to Sutton, she's like, maybe you drink too much. And
Right.
and Sutton's like, well, you drink a lot too. You're spreading your legs, getting whipped cream in your ass by strippers.
Uh-huh.
And I want someone on the show to say, and I wish Kyle would say it. I think there is a difference, and there's when you're concerned about your friends drinking, there's a difference between going out and drinking and partying and going crazy and vomiting and, oh girl, I got drunk last night and partying. That's one version of being messy. I think the concern is when you're losing your train of thought in conversation, you forget what you're saying, and you start to attack and be manipulative, but then you forget what you're talking about out of nowhere. Your personality is changing, and I think that's what Kyle is trying to say to Sutton. She's like, you're not making any sense, and your personality is so weird right now, and you're hot and cold. And that's another version of being altered in some way that is concerning. So it's not like an equal, like, yes, they're both messy, but like, I wish someone would articulate that.
Well, I mean, that's what we saw exactly what happened with Denise, where she was telling Erica, like, "You know what you did?" And Erica's like, "I really
She was
don't."
on another planet. Yeah.
And then she couldn't say what it was. She's like, "She knows what she did." Erica's like, "If you would just tell me." And then finally Erica did what I did many times in my life, like, "Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that thing that I did that we both don't know what it is,
Right.
but
Well,
that's okay.
you can't
Just
get mad
just
if the
drop it."
obviously the person has no idea what they're talking about. They're just in a different they're in a blackout. She was in a blackout, I
And then
think.
when she said that to Dorit, was like, "I know what you're doing." And Dorit's
I
like, "I'm
love
just
that.
trying to help you with your coat."
I love that so much because it was upside down.
It was
It
upside down, and she
it
was just like,
literally
Dorit's like, "No, I'm literally just trying to say, like, you're on camera, let me help you with your coat." And Denise was giving her that,
Uh-huh.
"I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing." And Dorit's like, "I'm just trying to help you with your coat."
It's
That was
literally I think it's upside
wild.
down. I loved it. I loved it so much.
That was and then Denise's bottom teeth were, like, real brown, and that concerned me as well. I have a real thing with teeth, as you can tell.
Well, don't
Um,
look at my bottom teeth. I went to the orthodontist yesterday and he was like, "It's too late for you." He literally was like, "There's nothing we can do for you to fix your bite." Um,
that is crazy because even I got a couple of years ago, I got Invisalign because my bottom teeth even though I had braces when I was young, had gotten, like, really crowded, and they're like, basically, that's what happens when you get old is the inside of your mouth gets more crowded,
yeah.
and so the only way to fix it is to, like, do braces again or Invisalign or whatever, and I did because I was like, "I don't care. I can't stand because I have to look at myself in a camera. I can't stand
Right.
looking at those jangly bottom teeth."
I hate my
But
bottom
Denise doesn't
teeth.
give a shit.
No, she doesn't. No, and she looked so beautiful the next day when they went to lunch.
I know. I need to watch that lunch scene again because it was like, who are these 2 different people, and how did was she not hungover that she could even pull it together to go to that lunch? If I was that drunk, I would be like, we're gonna have to reschedule because I gotta stay in bed for 2 days."
I think a lot of these people, it's not just being drunk. I think it's an Ativan and a tequila, and
But what
or
does an Ativan do? Is that the same as, like, a Xanax? What's an
mhm,
Ativan?
literally the
Okay,
same. A Klonopin, a
okay,
Xanax, an Ativan, a Valium, all
okay.
in the same class of drugs, benzodiazepines. I think it's just a pill and a cocktail, and that will send you to, I mean, have face like a Schlotsky's deli sandwich.
Okay, and the and do you think also that's what was happening this week on Salt Lake City with Meredith, who
Well, she
they
said
said
she was
blood
on Xanax. On two, she took double.
well, she said that she was taking a sleeping pill for the flight, which I have to imagine Salt Lake to Bermuda is, maybe 6 hours or something, and she was gonna sleep on the flight, but then Whitney was like, "I think she forgot," and she took a second one.
Yeah, quote unquote. She put her air quotes up. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she
forgot and took
forgot
two. Well, it's
and
always more
took
fun to
2.
take two. Who doesn't want to take double the like when you take two Xanax, you don't have any cares in the world. Who doesn't want zero cares in the world? That's great. It's a
I mean,
great feeling.
I might if I was being filmed for a TV show, I might wanna
Well,
keep my wits about me.
you would think, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I wouldn't want that to be televised. To do
Yeah.
that
I don't know.
privately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a real pilled up week on Bravo
Yeah, I,
TV.
I would also think, everyone, there's a lot of conversation about what is Meredith's accent? What is this? It's like, that's your speech is fucked up. That's when
Yeah.
you can't talk straight because you're fucked up.
Well, I mean, yeah, we saw Denise as well. It's like, what you do, you know?
I know,
Yeah.
and I don't celebrate it. I don't think it's good for anyone, but I was entertained watching it.
I agree with that. Like, again, I live with somebody in recovery. I have a
Yeah.
brother-in-law in recovery. I have many friends in recovery. So I don't necessarily think it's funny, but I do find it entertaining, and I don't have a real concern for Denise or Meredith like
No.
perhaps we would have that concern for like a Shannon Bedore, like other people we have seen on our shows that we do
Yeah.
have a concern
And
for.
you know what else? The good thing is that they're talking about it. It's not like no one's pretending it's not happening. And I think that's the only thing that matters. If no one was saying, "Oh, she had a," they're calling it out, and then that's
Yeah,
the person will take it from there.
yeah. Speaking of people that have addiction problems, have you seen Leah Sweeney's OnlyFans?
No, I don't subscribe to anyone's. Maybe actually, I've subscribed, but no women on OnlyFans.
No women.
Have you
Okay. Well,
subscribed?
no, I have not. But
Is it sexual?
somebody. Oh yeah, it's like I'm going to sit in this chair, but I'm going to give you a little oop up the butt. Yeah, just a
Up
little
the
something.
butt?
Yeah, just like a little something.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. And
Yeah, and it's sad because the pictures that she's put, like, on Instagram to, like, tease it or whatever, it's like her kid's, like, high school backpack is, like, sitting in the background, and it's just
well,
like and
listen,
here
MILF, as we know, is a category. MILF is a category people are into.
yeah, speaking of, you and I did, do a recap of MILF Manor, when it
Yeah.
was on, and I did let you know this week that I'd had it with April Dreams, and I couldn't follow her Instagram anymore. Her just dancing around in LA in front of graffiti walls or on a stage with her skirt up to her hoo-ha was just too much for me. One a week would have been fine, but it's every day. I had
I
to
will.
unsubscribe.
I will always celebrate her,
Yeah,
but I do understand what you're saying.
I'd had it.
I'm
Like,
fascinated. I don't know. It's such interesting body work as well. Her physicality is so uh, unique.
yeah, it is. And she looks amazing. She's 60 something years old. And then her son, of course, Gabriel,
Mhm.
he's somebody you might want to follow because he
He has
looks
a lot.
great.
He has a lot of. I noticed. I checked him out one time, and I noticed that most of our mutual friends were gay guys. So he's got some
Interesting.
gay fans too as well.
Well, good for him. He's inclusive, and a lot of his get ready with me videos are
Ah,
something. He
okay.
stands,
I'll
you know,
check
puts
those
the
out.
holds the phone up, and then one by one his clothes come on as, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of heavy belt buckles
Yeah,
and
yeah,
combat boots and
yep.
mesh tops.
He's a chip off the old milf. Hmm.
That's the funniest thing you've ever
Yep.
said. That was good.
Thanks.
You guys, I want to tell you something. Speaking of funny, if John Hill ever comes to your town with his show, or if you're in New York or LA, wherever he's performing, you have to go. It's John is so talented
Thank you
and
for
so
coming to my
funny.
Vegas show. I'm so touched, and I'm really grateful
Amazing.
too. Thank you for coming.
I heard later Jerry O'Connell was there. I was like, how did I not see him?
He was there. Yeah, I think he scooted out real quick, like the minute
Yeah, he didn't want to get recognized.
it
Yeah.
was over. Well, he had to go to the Bravos, as did I. That's why
Oh,
I scooted out real quick.
right. That's right. I forgot that was
And
that
I
same
barely made
night.
it, but I'm going to be in New York on the 14th of December and the 22nd in LA of December, and then
Okay.
Chicago January 18th.
Really?
And
Chicago
no,
people,
no, no.
go see it.
Chicago January 20th, New York January 18th.
All these things I bet could be
Yeah, yeah,
found on your
yeah.
Instagram.
Exactly. Although
Yeah.
I only have 12 posts on my grid, that my grid has disappeared and reappears. There's an issue in Instagram, but you'll find it.
What?
Go to my links in my bio.
What happened
Yep.
to your Instagram? Because I know you had a well-known public feud with Twitter back in the day when they took away your
Oh, well,
yeah.
that's because I got hacked. This is
Yeah.
I'm actually on very good standing with Threads and Meta and Instagram and everything. It's
You're an
nothing.
influencer.
They
How
like
could they do
me.
this to
They
you?
love me.
Yeah.
It's literally like some issue with their technology where some people across the country's grid is kind of invisible. This is so boring. Anyway, go to my Instagram anyway
That's
and buy
interesting to
a
me.
ticket to see
Mhm.
my show.
So we've got New York, we've got LA, we've got Chicago.
Yes.
Are you going to come here where I am to the DC area?
Actually, I was just thinking about that today. I have a few friends there. I need to know where I should play there. Let's
Okay,
talk
I'll look into it.
let's talk
I'll
venues.
we'll talk venues, and I'll get producer Ingrid, one I
Okay.
think your biggest fan in the world.
I love Ingrid.
Ingrid and her sister Leah were so into your show that I thought they were gonna start throwing panties on the stage. Like,
Okay.
they were
Listen,
into it.
all panties welcome. Well, let's make it happen in DC. Why did I think you were somewhere else? Oh well,
Well, I'm in Virginia, but it's I just say
DC
DC because,
area.
like, it's easier to explain, like, if you say LA, but you really live, like, in Hidden Hills or something,
I do
It's
get a
like,
lot of people asking for DC, and I get a lot of people asking for Seattle too.
"Oh, okay.
So Seattle, DC, those are in the spring probably.
Okay, I love it. I love it." You guys, if you have a chance to go see one of John's shows in one of these cities, you should. Now, tell everybody also where we can hear you on the radio.
Well, Andy Cohen and I are Monday through Thursday on Andy Cohen Live, Sirius XM, Channel 102, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. My show, The News with John Hill, which you still have to come on, Mary Payne. When
Love
we're
it.
both on the East Coast, you'll figure it out. We'll get our schedules together. That's Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern.
How much do you love it when you go to New York and you're like, "I don't have to get up at 5 in the morning to
I
do this
still
show?"
get up. My body's used to it. So I still get up kind of that early. I'm just
And the
used
Smith
to it.
sisters are on even before that.
They're on at 6, but they don't go to the studio. They do it from home, but still they have to get up at 5. Like they're an hour ahead of me. So everything I'm doing, they're already done. It's a lot.
I've told you this before, and I know that you're friends. I love the Smith sisters on radio, Andy. Love.
They're brilliant. They're
They're
truly
great.
the lights of my life.
And I really could not tell you who is who because their voices all sound the same to me.
Yeah, if you know them, it gets easier, and their personalities, I just know them so well and for so long that it's easy to hear their different
Yeah.
POV. But keep listening, and they'll pop out.
Yeah, everybody listen to, The News with John Hill. I don't miss it, and I also never miss a Radio Andy unless it's a guest on that I really just can't stand, and then I change
We're trying
it.
to not have as many of those on, but I always like hearing from you who you're not going to listen to.
Well, I won't say because I mean, I would tell you privately, but I wouldn't tell you here
Yeah,
because that's not nice because I
yeah,
wouldn't want
yeah,
anybody
yeah.
to say that about me publicly. Everybody, I want to thank you for, listening to this or watching this if you're watching it on YouTube and sticking by my costume and my necklace that didn't fall off my head. I thought it would. It is held together with a wing and a prayer back here, guys. A wing and a prayer. And I was very excited. I put on my makeup and then I thought, well, later on, I've got to take like a mug shot because
Mm,
Keisha, my co-host, and I are doing mug shot Monday. So I have to take a mug shot of myself. So I've got like a little tattoo I'm going to put on my face and
perfect.
then I'm going to smear my makeup down my face and have like a
Yes.
cry face. Maybe I'll
Good.
redden my nose will help. That
Yes.
was a good tip.
Little nod to the cult.
I was literally gonna do it right after this because I was like, I have full face of makeup on, so I should do it. And then I remembered I have to go to Ingrid's house tonight for a party, so thank God I didn't.
Oh shit. Well, listen, live out loud. Go with your makeup smeared to the party.
And a face tattoo. Who would
Yeah.
notice?
Yeah.
Who would notice? All right, John, thank you very much. And everybody follow
Thank
John
you.
Hill on Instagram at John Arthur Hill. And please follow me on Instagram at Pink Shade Pod. Bye. Ads not read by me, Mary Payne, don't necessarily reflect the views of Pink Shade. If you'd like to listen to ad-free, you're going to go on over to Supercast or Patreon, and you can find the links to Pink Shade Prime at pinkshadepodcast.com.